So having looked into both ideas for biblical and non-biblical ethical standards, I have decided that I agree with Kate, and I do believe that our standards should be backed up by biblical principles. Williams, I did look into the article that you mentioned, and it covered different topics, and I wanted to discuss that a little bit. So it did discuss let me look at my notes that I made. Pressure to deceive, which discussed hiding facts that could possibly get us what we wanted to get, because many people do this in the business world and it's not considered wrong, because we're just hiding little facts here and there just to get us where we need to be. I also discussed the poker analogy, that discussed that we needed to maybe not trust people so much, and it's not also considered morally wrong or wrong in an ethical manner. And then it also discussed the discard for the golden rule, where we hope that other businesses don't do to us as we do unto them. However, because some of the practices have been taken place for so long, they're not really considered wrong anymore, such as spying on other companies to get secrets. It's just considered common and normal now. So I wanted to discuss that article as well, and why I don't agree with the views that it brought up. Another point that this article made is business bluffing ethical article. Another point that it made was it discussed successful people that had claimed to follow God, but then it points out how they were ethically wrong per a biblical perspective. And I wanted to mention that while this is true, we all know as humans, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to err. And sometimes, a lot of times, we don't notice that we are not doing right. That is why we're constantly looking towards God for guidance to help us to be more like Him. So I don't disagree with the article that that's accurate, that people that do try to do good a lot of times make mistakes, and either they don't realize it and they think they're doing the right thing. God still blesses us even when we do wrong. So this article seems like it's stating that to be successful, having biblical perspectives is going to be very difficult, to have biblical based ethics. But I think that at the end of the day, many of us on our lives here on earth that are Christians, our success here on earth is not as important as our eternal success. So I know in business, it's about our success here while we're alive and to make money, to make a profit. But we also have to put our trust in God and trust in His promises and His blessings. In regards to this article, I also wanted to mention the Bible verse that came to my mind, Matthew 16:26, where Matthew asks, what do we gain what do we profit if we gain the whole world but we lose our soul? So pretty much he's asking, how much are we willing to sell our soul for? Which is a very, very important thought to consider. And I also wanted to bring up another company who has publicly disclosed their stance about their ethical policies and their biblical perspectives and beliefs. And they have been very successful. And this company is Chick-fil-A. They were not doing too well in 1982. The owners came together, they prayed about it, and they have been very, very successful. They were actually doing really, really well. And in 2012, they were asked about their views about their family, and they spoke up, and they were honest with their views, even though they knew that this would create backlash. They did not back down because they stuck to their statement, their purpose, that from the very beginning, and they admitted to the world that they did not agree with most of the views of homosexuality, and this created a lot of backlash. However, Chick-fil-A has become very successful despite that, and they're doing really, really well. So I think that we should put our trust in God and not back down from our ethics. Our customers will see this. Of course, there's going to be trials. It's not always going to be easy, but we can build trust with our customers and our suppliers and our partners as we grow. The information from Chick-fil-A came from an article from BusinessInsider.com. The title, The Church of Chicken, the inside story of how Chick-fil-A used Christian values and a clone army to build a booming business that's defying the retail apocalypse and taking over America. If you want more information about Chick-fil-A and their views, feel free to look at the article and let me know what you think about it and your feedback. A few other comments that I have in regards to the article, Williams, that you mentioned is comes from chapter 2 of the book A Just Business. Chapter 2 discusses holiness, how we can be more like God. Holiness is made of 4 elements. The first one's zeal for God. Second, purity. Third, accountability. And fourth, humility. And I'm going to discuss those a little bit. So for holiness, we have to put God first. We have to honor God. And with God's guidance, we can become more like Him. So we would by putting God first, we would not put anything else before that. Any of our greed or anything else that might come in between us. Which brings us to purity, which means there's no moral separation. We're not going to falsify information to get us what we need to get. And accountability. We are going to be held accountable for our choices, whether it's in just with our relationship with God or in business world and our relationship with God. All our choices have consequences. And then the last one being humility. Being humble helps us to learn from others as well, and also helps us to be better leaders. So there's some really good points in chapter 2 from Just Business. And I also have the book available if you would like to read it as well, and give me your thoughts on that.